Hi everyone, and welcome back to Rough Rider, where every week I talk writing, self-publishing, and making it as an author. So we've all heard these writing commands before. Always show, never tell, limit your number of point of view characters, don't end a sentence in a preposition, don't start a sentence with a conjunction. The list goes on. But if you treat these suggestions like rules, you're always going to question your writing. Violate one rule and you'll end up on Twitter or Reddit asking people, am I a bad writer? This just stifles your creativity and it's generally unhelpful. But here's the thing, big name authors break these rules on every page. Pull any novel off your shelf and you'll see what I'm talking about. Clive Barker uses colons unconventionally, Cormac McCarthy loves himself some run-ons, and George R.R. Martin includes way more characters than most people would say is acceptable. But they do this without anyone questioning their talent as an author. But if they were first-time authors on social media, they'd probably give up entirely. But if you know the rules and you can follow them if you wanted to, then you can go ahead and break them. Writing is art and you have artistic freedom. The painter Henri Matisse is a really good example. His most famous paintings look like a kid did them. But if you look at his more realistic work, you'll see he really does know how to paint. He just chooses to paint in his own style, and people love the work he produced even if it's unconventional. And of course, these rules still have value. They're a good place to start for a beginner, but they're not the place you should end. I think a lot of indie authors may end up stifling their personal style for the sake of writing the right way. New authors go on social media and ask about finding their voice. And that's a valid question. But at the same time, they cling to these writing rules, which just makes it even less likely that they're ever going to find their own voice. They'll end up sounding like the people who taught them instead of sounding like themselves. Like, I think back to when I was in college, I took a Drawing 101 class. In that class, the professor explained the various media we'd be using, and she gave some general tips, but not much else. And I got frustrated because my first charcoal portraits were not very good. I felt like she just wasn't teaching me anything. But over a few weeks, I started to figure out what worked for me, and my portraits went from cartoonish to realistic. I improved dramatically, and I did it without the professor ever actually dictating what should be done. She let me develop my own drawing style. And then I and everyone else in the class ended up drawing like ourselves. We didn't draw like our professor. She gave advice when we asked her, but otherwise let us figure it out on our own. And the same is true of these writing rules. Take the advice that you're given, but don't treat it like it's a command. Otherwise, you're never going to find your own voice. Ultimately, I think people should remember that writing is an art form. Art is subjective, and it's best when the artist is unrestrained. And in my opinion, creative works are more compelling when the creator did things their own way, even if it's unusual or unconventional. A good story is what matters, and it can only be written when the author didn't question every step they took along the way. When you stop worrying about all these rules, you can unleash that creativity that you've been holding back for the sake of pleasing your teachers. So yeah, my point is, don't take these rules so seriously. Don't hold yourself back. I understand there's a little bit of irony here in that I'm constantly giving writing advice. Here I am saying that you should take that with a grain of salt. But ultimately, I'm not trying to get people to write like me. I'm just trying to give you some basic tips to get you started. So next week, I'm going to be talking about a little bit more educational stuff. I guess this was kind of like an opinion piece, but I have a longer version of this little soapbox thing I've got going on my blog. There's a link in the description. If you agree with me or you found it interesting, found it helpful at all, please like and subscribe, follow me on social media. And as always, thank you for watching. God bless.